The figure below is for F, and you want to estimate the following. Okay, so this is this gets a little bit messy, and there's a lot of different ways you can do it. And I don't really care how you do it, as long as you pick something that makes mathematical sense and is consistent, and you get a reasonable answer. Okay, so they don't have to be exactly the same as the answers I'm getting. Okay, so the first one is you want the area under the curve from 1 to -1. So, okay, this min here, let me just show you. It's not exactly at 1. It's right about there, okay? But if you don't notice that, that's totally fine. I don't expect you to notice that. And this max here, guess what? It's not exactly at 1 either, okay, at -1. So just for reference, again, if you think that's at -1 and 1, that's pretty much, that's okay. But let's do the problem the way it was asked. So there's -1 and there's 1. Okay, so this little tiny smidgen I don't really care about. Can you visually guess roughly where the average of this function is, right? So here's the thing. You should see there's some kind of symmetry. This point, you see this curve coming out this way and this curve coming out this way. They look the same, don't they? Right? So if that looks, let's see, how can I explain this? Let me see. If I just focus in on just this piece here. Just zoom your eyeball in on just this. Do you see that that looks the same? It looks the same on all sides. Close to the same. Okay, so if you agree with that, then we can proceed. Get rid of this highlighting. Okay. And so if that's the case, then I can draw a line from here to here. Well, if I use a ruler, I can. Okay, and this area inside this box is going to be roughly the same as the area under that curve. Okay, and that's the premise behind how I'm doing this problem. And so that's roughly at 0.25. Okay. So 0.25 times 2 is just 0.5. And if you want to show all work, because f of 0 is approximately equal to the average over -1 to 1. Okay? Alright, so now what about the next question? From 0 to 2.5. Well, that's pretty much the same, right? 0, but the same but different. Okay, let's erase some of this stuff. Okay, 2.5 is going to be here. But you see, this little box, I mean, this curve doesn't really dip down below that starting value. So, excuse me. Sorry. So, 0.25 times 0.25. It's a quarter times a quarter, which is a 16th. But if you want to use a calculator, you can go ahead and use a calculator and say 1/16, 0.0625. It's fine. Even though it looks like we're being very accurate because we're using lots of digits, we're not being all that accurate. We're just being careful. There's a difference between being careful and using lots of digits. Okay, the area bounded by the x-axis and f of x. Wow, it doesn't say over what interval, so we have to think about this question. The area bounded. And so what it means is you have to assume that this curve goes on forever and this curve goes on forever, and that all relevant portions of the curve have been indicated. And so that means that this area is kind of like that children's story where there's like an elephant or a hat, or which children's story is that anyway? feel like I should know that. But anyway, so this is the curve we're trying to find the area of. Well, again, you can kind of imagine what's going on, and this is not too much different than the one we just did in A. But in A, we kind of ended here. Don't know why I'm sneezing. So it's going to be slightly over 0.5 because of question 24A. And so let's see, it's 0.5, maybe the average is 0.25 times another 0.25, so maybe it's a 16th, okay? So maybe it's maybe 0.5625. I don't know. So in the answer key, I estimated a whole different way, and I got 0.756. Okay, so the question here is like, I'm not saying that one is perfect and the other one isn't. I'm just saying there's different ways of getting the numbers and different approximations you make. But by saying why I'm doing this, I'm saying based on the answer I got for A, then I'm just adding a little strip over here. So I know this answer has to be bigger than A, so I'm just estimating it. Okay? Now the next question, the area, this is from -1 to 1, f of x minus 0.25. Aha. So this is one that's much easier to explain on a computer. I'm going to just take and trace this curve. Okay? Hopefully you won't see anything. It'll be right on top of there. And then I'm going to just take and move this whole thing down by a quarter. So this is something you should be able to visualize. If you move this down by a quarter, then where that center was just drops. Now it definitely is going to look like that thing is symmetric. And so if you go from -1 to 1, then you just get 0. Because 0.25 is, I know what, I'm having trouble with my screen here. Because 0.25 is the average value over that domain.